My name is Miranda, and I am a speech language specialist. I am working in the schools right now. I work with students from preschool all the way up to high school, and I'm part of my district's assistive technology team as well as a treating SLP. So I feel like I know a lot about speech, and using these visuals have been very helpful. So I decided to join the Smarty Ears team and working with Smarty Symbols for visual supports and also Speech and Language Academy. So today I'm going to show you a couple of tricks and tips using Smarty Symbols that are really hands-on, and they're tips that you can use taking from what I'm going to tell you tonight and using it in a therapy session tomorrow. So I hope that you can at least take one or two ideas away and apply them in your sessions. Okay, so here is a little schedule. Of course, you know me, I'm a very visual person, so I need to do a visual schedule as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about what Smarty Symbols is and how it helps create visual supports. And then I am going to show you how to create and use different language activities in sessions and with carryover. And then at the end, if anybody has any questions, I'm free for a couple of questions. So what are Smarty Symbols? The reason why I'm going to be using this platform is because Smarty Symbols are very consistent. So when you're pulling from Google, you might not find a picture that you're looking for. If you're looking at the pictures, they may be, disjointed. They may not have the image that you're looking for. It may not have, a lot of variety or diverse examples of your characters. It also, I feel like, takes a long time to go through Google and look at all of these different pictures. So with Smarty Symbols, it's consistent. So they're all going to be looking similar. It cuts down time on doing these Google searches, so you don't have to spend a lot of time finding your pictures. They're all on the platform, over 35,000 images for you to choose from, a variety of different images. So it's not just those nouns. You have action words, you've got, adjectives, a whole bunch of different options. And then we also have a lot of different characters to choose from. So, sometimes in the past, you have a subscription that you're using for visual supports and all the characters look the same. And that really doesn't reflect our individual students. We want to have options where we can have characters that look like our students. And we can have a lot of different options to include diverse and inclusive options. So with Smarty Symbols, we also have a community of resources. So anybody who makes symbols can share them on the platform. And so we have over 5,000 pre-made activities and templates that you can choose from, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So if you're using it within a school system, or if you have a team for early intervention, or if you have a clinic, you can share within that community and make it a private group so that everybody's on the same page. So just to give you a little overview of what the website looks like. So this is Smarty Symbols homepage. And as you can see here, we have different tabs of different activities. It's a way to get visuals for teachers, parents, SLPs, and other related service providers. And you can make your own custom designs. There are a bunch of different templates that are available for you to use. Our symbols, we have over 30,000 different symbols available in black or white, and you can download them and print them or use them with digital games. It's really easy to drag and drop them into the templates and customize them for your use. All right, so let's take a peek and look at some of these different activities that you can use in your therapy sessions. So what I'm going to share with you guys, you can adapt or tweak or change any of these ideas, but I'm going to give you a couple of different ways to use them, either digitally or with printout versions. So with Smarty symbols, they give you a template that you can use to make custom visual supports. I'm going to show you in our tab over here. For this activity, I used a lot of the grid templates. So I was able to make all of these different visuals and pop in all of the sea creature and ocean visuals that I wanted to use. So I'm going to show you in Smarty Symbols. When I go to the printing center, you can see over here that there are all different types of templates. So you can make it where you have squares. They have different interactive books, visual schedules, games, all of these different activities. And it's easy to go to the symbols. And let's say we want to do fish. See, maybe we'll do an angelfish. And I can just pop that in and make it fit. So going back, here, our first activity that we're going to talk about is using that grid with sensory bins. So I feel like everybody has heard of a sensory bin, and they use, a filler like rice or beans or different types of, sands, and they put in all of these cut pieces, and they're taking the time to laminate the pieces, put them in, and then they might get crumpled or crushed, and you don't really have them for very long. But an alternative to that is using the sensory bin and using a clear bin and putting a printout. So if you get your visuals, I've been using this underwater theme. You can use your visuals and you can put them underneath your sensory bin. So this saves you some time, and you can reuse it. It's not going to get, sticky or wet or crumpled because it's underneath, and your students can actually dig and move the filler on the top to find what's on the bottom. So I'm going to show you an example of 3 different ways that you can use a visual, either using it as, let's say if they're looking for a word and you're talking about it, you can give them a direction to find a certain word, or you can use it just to play around with vocabulary, exposing them to different vocabulary, reviewing it if they find that word, talking about it. I'm going to show you how to do that with a sensory bin in 3 ways. So I've been using the ocean theme this week, and I wanted to share that with you.
So I organize my sensory bins using these drawers that a lot of people get from Michael's, so I can have a lot of space, and then I can also use them as just an easy way of sticking them in. I can also use these eggs, so I have my underwater creatures inside these seashell eggs. And then a third way that we can use the Smarty symbols is we can put it underneath. So as your students are digging, you can see that you don't even have to cut them out. You don't have to laminate them. You don't have to do anything. You just cut them out and put them underneath so that the students can dig, or they can use their animals. You can work on verbs, like the crab is digging. You can work on prepositions. Let's see what's under the turtle. Oh, it's the seahorse. And then you can even use it so that if you have some of these creatures inside and you have some extra eggs, as the students find the different types of cards or visuals, you can have them put them in the little seashells or in the eggs, close them and take them out so that you know that you're done and there's nothing left inside your sensory bin.
So I got these fillers. They're actually from flower vases. So whatever is the filler in the bottom of the flower vase, they're easy to clean and wash. and you get a lot of that sensory feedback by digging through. So you can use them cut out, you can use them in the egg, or you can use them underneath as 3 ways to support your students in finding some of that vocabulary in the sensory bin. You can also use the Smarty symbols as a visual next to the sensory bin. So if you have a sentence strip to find what was in there, you can have it where it says, I found A, and then as they find the different pictures inside, you can put the actual picture next to it. So it helps them with that visual support as well. And even with grouping them or putting them in different categories, you can have those supports using those different templates so that they can take it out and organize it. So there's really a lot of different options within the sensory bin, and using that visual support helps the child know what they're looking for, what's left, and how much they have to find in there. All right, so the second type of activity that you can do using these visual supports is making a game companion. So for me, I use a lot of games and activities in my therapy session. I love activities where you have a lot of pieces. So things like Pop the Pirate, or the Shark Bite game, or Pop the Pig. You can use all of those activities, but sometimes, you have the sword or the hamburger from the games and it goes on the ground, or it's moving across the table. I'm sure everybody has had that where they pull it out or they have it in front of them and there's not really that defined area to put them in unless you're holding on to it. So I find that with using visual supports, it's very helpful because it kind of shows them where that piece should be or where they can put it after they take it out. So with these templates, instead of having to make or draw your own or not having anything, you can make one template and then you can reuse it for different types of activities. So whether that's for language or articulation, fluency, or even something that's in a mixed group. So I'm going to show you an example of one that I made. So for this one, we were working on articulation. So I have at the top what we're working on so that it reminds the student, okay, we're making our sound in words. And then I did this where it's in black and white so that it adds an extra element so they can take it home for homework and color it in. There is the option to have it in color, but I know sometimes when we're working, we don't always have all of the color ink that we want to spend on printing out paper. So I made this one in black and white and I have the words on the bottom. So for this, I can change out what the pictures are. It's very easy to do that. I can have it in the same document so that I can work on multiple sounds and it's all organized in the same place. And then underneath, I have a place for the different colored swords for Pop the Pirate. So if they're taking out their green sword or if they're putting in a green sword, I can have one of these in front of every student and they know what it is that they're working on. They can have a visual as opposed to cards. If you're giving someone a card and then taking the card away, you have a lot of moving pieces. With this, they can kind of see what options they have next. They might circle it so they know which ones they've done already or which one they want to cross off, so that you can kind of keep track and schedule things that way visually. If you have Pop the Pig, you can do the same thing. You can easily change out the sword for a hamburger. Ned's head, you can have different objects in there as well. And crowd favorite of Cariboo, you can have so many options here also with making those visuals of what you found inside the Cariboo activity. So again, if you're working in a school system or if you're working in a clinic, this is something that maybe you don't want to do all of the articulation or all of the language goals, but if you have a team, everybody can kind of do their own and share it. So it's going to save you a lot of time if you're on that same network together or that same community together. All right, and now I have some digital activities, which I'm very excited about. So with virtual learning, a lot of our activities we had to shift from printout paper-based to digital activities to either share through Zoom or have our students do through the screen. But now that we're back in person, it doesn't mean that we still can't, work on some of those activities in a digital way. So what I did was I used Google Slides to create interactive PowerPoint activities. And I have 3 examples of ways that we can use the Smarty Symbols platform in order to download our visuals and make activities very easily. So I have a feeding game, and I'm going to show you how to do that, a flashlight or a magnifying glass game, and how to animate scenes. Smarty Symbols also now has a new game platform. So I made this before the game platform was on, but if you're familiar with, like the boom card activities, I feel like this is something that is easier to create your own activities. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that too. So let's see, I'm going to pull up my other screen. All right, so I made this on Google Slides because I don't know if every district has Canva, but I feel like a lot of districts are using Google now, and it's easy to share with Google. So I'm going to give you some examples of how we can do some of these activities. So for my first one, and again, you can take this and make it as easy to create as you want, or you can make it as complex as you want. So I have a little bit of flexibility there, but I'm going to show you one of the activities. So a lot of my students love to feed the animals. So no matter what the activity is, they always like to put the food into the animal's mouth. So I kind of took that and made it a digital option. So we did a dragons eating tacos activity, and I thought, it would be great to have the option to feed your dragon tacos digitally. So what I did was I took a picture on Smarty Symbols. I'm going to open up my designer. So when you click on the Smarty Symbols platform, you can find your different images. So I can type in dragon, see it already pulls it up for me. If you're looking to find something specific, you can also search by sound. You can search by syllables. So if you have a student who has apraxia, and let's say you're only looking for 1 or 2 syllable words, you can find a whole bunch of visuals that match that. In the same way that if you have a student that's working on a specific sound, you can search by the initial, middle, or final position. But for now, we're doing some language, so I'm going to look for my dragon. Or you can even look for a different type of animal. So let's say if you have we're doing ocean a lot this week, getting ready for our summer, you can look for a fish. So you can click on whatever fish speaks to you. I like this angelfish. And it gives you the option here of looking in the same category. So let's say you didn't like that picture of an angelfish. You can also look in the fish category and find something else. Again, you have the option of doing something black and white for coloring activities, but because we're doing digital, I want to download it as a color picture. So I'm going to click download, and it easily pops into my download bar. When I go back to open up my game and my activity, all I have to do is drag it and it pops up. So it's super easy to make it from a picture from the site onto your your Google Drive or your Google Slide. So with this one, I put a whole bunch of tacos on top of each other so that our dragon can eat them. You can also make it so that they go underneath. So you can pop your dragon to the front so that the tacos disappear. So we're going to do the same thing with the fish, and we're going to have the fish eat something delicious. So let's see. This is going to be a magical fish. So this fish is going to eat donuts. All right, so you have all of these awesome options for donuts. Because my fish is a magical fish, I want it to eat a donut with lots of sprinkles and strawberry frosting on there. So I'm going to, again, easy to do, download my picture. And then I am going to put it into my PowerPoint. And again, I can adjust it easily, make it different sizes. So I want it to be big. So again, I can use my Control-C, copy it, make a bunch of copies. And then you know if you're having 10 trials or 15 trials, or you can have 5 trials per donut. If you want, you can leave your donuts like this so that the students can see how many they have left, or you can kind of stack and organize them. So I'm just going to find my donut, hit Control so I can get my cursor, and I can highlight them all. Then I can hit Arrange. I can put them in an order, so I can put them in the center so that they're all kind of stacked up nice and neatly. And then, of course, I want to bring my fish, and I want to bring my fish to the front so that all of these donuts disappear. So again, if you're clicking on your donut, you can use your arrow keys and tell the students, where should we put the donuts? Should they go up? Should they go in? So you can use a lot of prepositions there. So that's one way. So you can work on whatever target that you're looking for and have your students feed the fish in the same way that you're doing the dinosaur. So you can use that with books. If you're reading about a certain type of animal, you can make that very closely linked to your creation. Right. The second activity that you can use with Google Slides using these visuals, which I'm very excited about, is you can either do this as a flashlight or a magnifying glass game. So for this activity, I'm going to show you the one I already made. We're looking for different types of animals. So I'm using my magic magnifying glass, and you can have your students look all over the page, and when you find it, it uncovers your different animal. So you can use this again as a flashlight or as a magnifying glass. And you can have your student tell you, certain prepositions like go up or go down, or it's next to, or it's in front of. You can work on categories with this, so you can find all the different types of animals. You can answer WH questions with this. So there's really a lot you can do with this. You can answer questions of like where they live, and it doesn't have to be all animals. Of course, there are a bunch of different categories and different pictures that you can use with Smarty symbols to find the different types of animals or the different types of pictures. So for this, I already went into Smarty symbols, and I found a couple of pictures and I saved them to the bottom. So in the same way that we saved the picture for the fish eating donuts, we're going to go in and we're going to make sure that we have the pictures in black and white. So I'm just going to show you one more time. If I'm going into Smarty symbols, again, I want to find animals. These are all going to be, let's say, farm animals. So maybe I want to find a chicken. So it gives you a lot of options here. Of course, they have chicken wings because it relates to chicken, because I wasn't as specific as a live chicken, but they have all of these different options that you can use and just looking for it. So you can even have your students help you pick which one you want. And of course, you see they also offer the signs for it, and they show the different types of characters that you can pick. So we want to use the chicken. And for this activity, you want to make sure it's an outline. So again, if you're going on Google to try and find some of these images, it's going to be more difficult to do because they don't necessarily have everything you're looking for in the outline form. This is a lot quicker and easier to find what you're looking for and to save it very quickly. So I'm going to go back in to download and save that chicken. And then I'm going to bring all of my animals up into my picture. So it's very important that all of your animals are in a black outline for this to work. All right, so I have my pig, I have my sheep, and I have my chicken. And then what you're going to want to do next is you're going to want to make sure that your background is also black. So if you do a right click, you can click on change background and you can pick black. That way all of your animals disappear. Now, if you want, you can also look on Smarty symbols to find a magnifying glass and make this a fit. Or if you want something that's super quick, simple, you can find a shape. So you can create it yourself, or you can have your students, use their language to pick out a shape. So you can even do something like a heart. You can do your circle. So you can kind of pick what you want to do. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do a heart, and I'm going to make my heart. So now that you have your picture or your symbol, you can do your heart. If you're doing a magnifying glass, I'm going to show you how to do that too. So again, I'm going to look for magnifying glass. And this is the one that I want. And I can download this in color. And again, super easy just to drag it up. All right, for this one, I want this magnifying glass to be pretty even. So I'm going to put an extra shape on top. So again, if you want something super simple, you can just do the heart or the shape. If you want something more complicated, more complex, you can do the magnifying glass with the circle on top. So if you're going to do the magnifying glass, you want to make sure that you use the control button and click on the circle and the magnifying glass. And you want to make sure that you're grouping them together. That way you have everything moving in the same direction at the same time. And what I also want to do is I want to change the order. I want to send everything to the back. So whether that's the heart or the magnifying glass, I want to make sure everything is sent to the back. Now you can use your arrow keys, and you can move your different types of shapes and find your animals. So again, this one is small. You can keep it small if you want to put a lot of different pictures on your page. So I just put 3, but you can have 10, 15, 20 pictures on the page, make them small. Or if you want, you can make your shapes really big and they're going to find them more quickly. So again, if you have, students that you're working on a lot of targets, you can put a lot of pictures on here for them to have more to find. If your student doesn't have as much, attention to it at this moment, you might want to use bigger pictures with a bigger shape so that they're finding them more quickly. So again, you can see how with the heart, it's simple to move them around. And I'm going to move my heart back over here, and I'm going to show you how it looks with the magnifying glass. And again, I'm just using my arrow keys to move it around, and I'm able to find my different farm animals. So this is another way that you can talk about what you're finding on your screen. Then my last digital activity here is using the Smarty symbols, pictures, and background to use for animated pictures. So if I was to start my slideshow and use my spacebar button, we can talk about what the different characters are doing, where they're moving, and as I continue to press my spacebar, you'll see different characters are coming in. One is spinning, one is shrinking, it's getting smaller. So you can talk about, comparative sizes, superlatives, all of those types of things. And again, you can use the different characters. You can have them create a story of, first, second, third, fourth. So you can have them sequencing. And it gives a lot of opportunity. With Smarty symbols, they do have the backgrounds. So this background I actually got from Smarty symbols as the school background. And I'm going to show you where you can find that. So in the printing center, we have our different symbols, we have our text, we have our elements. And in the elements, you can see on the bottom, they have backgrounds. So you can use this even within the Smarty symbol platform. And all you have to do is find the one that you want. So let's say it's a playground, you just click on it and it shows up on the screen. When I go to download it or to take a screen grab, that's how I can pull this picture using the snipping tool and to save it onto my game. So for this, I set my background. You click on background and choose image. You can choose the image that you want. So for this one, I chose the school image. And then the same way that we pulled the farm animals and the fish and the donut, you can pull in the different characters. So you can look for whichever characters you'd like and put them on the screen. You can make them bigger or smaller. And then once you have the characters that you like, you can click on this animate button and it shows you all of the different characters that you put on the screen. And when you open it, it gives you options for the different types of actions that they can do. So disappearing, fading in, flying, zooming, spinning, and then the direction. So every time that you click it, it creates that. So you can also use this to make stories with your students and talk about what they're doing. All right, so let's see. I'm going to share this screen again. All right, so then we have those three different activities, and let me show you the game platform for Smarty symbols. So this is a new feature that we have that was just released, and we got a lot of feedback about people wanting to create interactive activities. They were using the actual pictures on the platform, but something that could give feedback about whether something was correct or, getting that sound effect really in there. And so Barbara, our creator, our CEO, is amazing with feedback. So when she heard that that was something that people were very interested in, she went ahead and spoke with the developers and was able to get a game creation as part of our platform. So when you open it, it looks very similar to the other template area, but with this, you can add different, sounds. You can add different pictures. So I'm going to show you an example of one that was already created, so you can kind of get the idea. So for this one, it was working on finding the different animals. So when you add in your text, you can type the text in. You can make anything on the screen a button, and then you can also add sound. So for the students who you want to add in a direction or a sound effect, you can do that as well. So for this one, it was finding, let me make that a little smaller so you can see the whole screen, finding the dog. So again, you can go in, use the elements, put in the different backgrounds, put in the different animals, and then it's easy to duplicate the page. So for this one, I had find the dog, find the cat, find the bird. And let's say I want to add in another animal. All I have to hit is this copy button, and it's going to take everything I did on the last slide, and I can just easily edit it. So let's say we want to find the fish. I can add a sound here. So I can record myself saying, find the fish. And then with the symbols over here, if I type in fish, I can pick my animal, drag it on, and move it wherever I want. So I can make sure that it's anchored to stay in the same spot, or I can have it where it can be moved. I can also make it a button. So because the fish is what I want my student to find, I'm going to hit correct so that they know that that's correct. And I can add a sound. So I can have, that as my sound, little magic wand sound. So there's different options there. And for other options, you can also click on those and make it a button. If you want it to be somewhat errorless, you don't have to say that it's incorrect, but just in case, you can see how it's highlighted so you know that that's not the area that they want you to press. And you can either add a sound or not add a sound. Most of the time I wouldn't add a sound just because I'm looking to reinforce the positives. And then other actions you can do with it, you can flip it around, you can move it, so that you have those different options. And then when you're finished with it, you can click launch the activity. So I'm going to click save because I've made my changes. And again, here, share with all members. You can decide if you want to do that, or again, if you have it within your organization or your clinic, or your private practice, you can make sure that it's only shared there. So because I already have find the animals, I'm going to add a 1 to it because I updated it. Find the bird. All right, so I'm going to find my animals. So I can click on this.
Find the dog.
And then of course, if I click on something else, it gets a little no, but if I find the dog, you get the correct sound.
Find the dog.
For a dog. So you can update and change these. I just made this as a template. So find the bird. They're going to be different. So of course, that one was correct. So again, you can edit it, you can change it however you want it to be. And then of course, when you're done, you can hit exit. So anything that you want to create, you really can create. The other thing that I like on this platform is that, let me go back to my other tab, is that there are a lot of different templates. So you're not necessarily spending a lot of time creating if you don't want to, because they're already created. You can kind of take what other people have already done and, kind of tweak it to what you're looking for. So if you have older students that you're working with, I like to use the comic strip template that we have. We recently were working on sequencing as well as problem solving and perspective taking. And some of my students work on, pragmatic skills as well as creative writing. So this was an activity that I did with them, where we had to take on the different perspective of the giant in Jack and the Beanstalk. So what they did was they helped create, what should it look like? What should we have? So we had a lot of dialogue buttons, and they were able to fill in what should they say. So in this one, the reporter was talking to, one of the townspeople, and then we had to fill in, what would the giant say if we took his perspective as opposed to Jack's perspective? What would the golden goose, or the goose that laid the golden egg, what would that goose say if we spoke to the goose? So this really allowed them to take on different perspectives. And again, it was super easy to create in going into the templates. Another thing that Smarty Symbols helps to create are green screen backgrounds. So I know a lot of teletherapists use these when we had virtual learning and are continuing to use them. This makes it easy to create different types of backgrounds. So whether it's a background or a different picture on the background, it can be used in teletherapy or in person. So if you're not familiar with green screens and how to put them on Zoom, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to find your background. So like we had that school background or the beach background, there are a bunch of different backgrounds on the platform itself. You can also use different backgrounds that are on, different websites. So like, let's say you find something, like I had a reporter background here so that they could tell their story. And then what you're going to do is you're going to save your background and open Zoom. So on the bottom of your Zoom, there is this little video recorder, and you just click on this little caret button next to it, and it will open up your background options. When you click on this little plus symbol up here, you're able to open whichever background you've saved, and then you can add it to your Zoom background. So once you have that, you can use a green screen behind you, and then you can add one of those green felt pieces. So if you're looking to have somebody, eat something, like the little old lady, she's always eating all of the different types of food and non-food items, you can have it where you put those pictures. You can put Velcro on the back of them if you're looking to stick it on your green screen behind you, or you can just put it in that pocket. Another thing that you can do is you can take a piece of cardboard and color in or have a different color on the front of it, almost like that magnifying glass activity. And you can have it where you pick a different color instead of green. So let's say I've seen some people pick like a bright purple or a super bright blue. You want it to be a color that's very unnatural, and the more neon it is, the better. And you can have your Zoom account detect that as your green screen. So as you move it around from side to side, whatever the background is, it will show the different visuals that you put in there instead of having your background. So that's also a fun one to do in person, so that you can have, your student move that magic magnifying glass around, and it shows up on, the projected screen in the classroom or in your speech area, what they're looking for. So they can kind of go up or down or tell you what they find on that screen. So it's a little bit of a magical, spiced up element. All right, so looking at carryover and building supports as a whole, again, this platform has a lot of options and opportunities for creating and customizing different types of carryover material, and it makes it a lot easier so that you have it all in one spot than trying to find different options. So I'm going to show you an example with carryover sheets. So again, you saw my example from earlier with the game companion with the Pop the Pirate, where it had the different pictures on the top. And then when students are finished using it, they can take it home and they can practice that way. I have a similar style sheet for take home that I'll show you next. All right, so here, again, you can keep this as a template and then you can make as many copies of it as you want. So at the top, I left it blank because sometimes I'll fill in information up here. So if you have something specific for the parent that you want them to work on, or a strategy that worked really well, something that you want them to carry over or use at home, on the top, you can just write a quick note. Today we talked about. You can also make this as structured or as unstructured as you want. So if you have, a certain number of strategies that you always use, you can fill that in and just make it a checklist. So you can just check it off so that it saves time. But if you want something to be more detailed and more open-ended, you can have it like this so that it's blank. And then on the bottom, I have the different body parts that we worked on. So for homework practice, Simon says, using these body parts. So again, it's a built-in visual cue so that you have, the back of the leg, you have the chin, you have the ear, the eyes, the feet, and the arms. And because it's black and white, I feel like I always like to use those for homework so that you can do different things with it. So if, again, you want them to color it or check it off, or maybe they put a question mark next to one of them because that's something that they have to practice a little bit more. So having a visual is very helpful to kind of carry over those different options. And the other thing that, Smarty Symbols is now doing is helping schools and helping different clinics and towns to create a classroom or a playground core board. So they have it on their website to be consistent with the symbol and picture support that you're using with your speech sessions, or if teachers are using the Smarty Symbols in their classrooms. You can have that same type of visual on the playground or in the classroom. So they're offering different types of customized boards. So this is an example of one of the boards that Liberty Grove Elementary School has, and they have it available in multiple languages. So, different schools or areas where they're using these boards can pick the color on their background. They can also pick the core board that they want. So we have different options that are already pre-made, but then you can customize it further. So you can have, like, if you have a specific type of equipment, you can have that option there. You can have the alphabet, you can have numbers. If you want it in Spanish, there's also that option of having Spanish. And then what's good about these, as opposed to some of the other playground boards, is that on the top, there's a QR code. So if somebody's coming up to this board and they have no idea what it is or how to use it, if you use your phone, you can scan the QR code and it tells you how to use it, what it is, and what the benefits are. So that parents aren't just saying, well, I don't know what that is. It really is more supportive of what it is. So it's inclusive of, the students who are using it and people who might not know what it is. All right, so as we are starting to wrap up, we have a couple minutes left. If you're interested in using Smarty Symbols or hearing any more information about it, I do have a promo code, which is Smarty MV10 for a discount. And also, if you are working in a school district or you're working in a private practice, if you have a certain number of, clinicians or staff members who are interested, you can get a discount for having a group of people. And then you can also get a discount if you're looking to get a subscription for, 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years. The more years you sign up, the bigger the discount. And then they're continually adding different things onto the platform. So to lock in the number now is more helpful, because as they continue to add, like the game platform was just added, as they continue to add those different elements, the price could go up over time. But if you're locking it in for multiple years, then you're set. And I also have a free resource that I will send, after the webinar, so that you can have access to a couple of free goodies. And if you have any questions or want more information, Smarty Symbols and Speech and Language Academy do host these free webinars, just so that we can connect and figure out, is there a way to make our platform better? Or, hearing a lot of feedback from you guys really helps us to make it the best it can be. So if you have any, questions now, I'm happy to answer them. But if you have any future questions, feel free to reach out. I hope to, be doing a couple more of these, and, we try and do different ones so that they're not all the same, and get different ideas for activities. So if you have any ideas or, topics that you want more information about or want to hear about, feel free to reach out, and I'd be more than happy to, talk to you about any of those options. So I'm going to see if I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to see if anybody else has any questions. I'll look in the chat. But I appreciate you guys coming out on a Tuesday to learn a little bit more about visual supports and how you can support your students. I hope that you can take some of this information and apply it into a session, and see what we can get out of this. Are there any questions? There's a Q&A spot on the bottom. But if there aren't any more questions, again, my name is Miranda. Feel free to reach out to me. If anything does come up, I will send you guys a copy of this recording and a freebie. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. And hopefully you've learned something cool that you didn't know before tonight.